Right now, America is in a war that is far more dangerous than most people realize. Not a standoff, not another news cycle, a real war. A war that is already hitting American troops, driving up oil prices, shaking global markets, and pushing one of the world's most important energy choke points closer to chaos. And the most unsettling part is this: America is clearly stronger than Iran. So why does all of this still feel like it could spiral out of control? That is the heart of this whole story. Because if you look only at raw military power, the answer seems obvious. The United States has the larger army, the larger navy, stronger air power, deeper logistics, and a real nuclear deterrent. But wars are not won on paper. They are won in the gap between strength and consequences. And Iran's entire strategy lives inside that gap. To understand why this war feels so unstable, you have to go back to how it began. On February 28, 2026, the United States and Israel launched major strikes on Iran. In that first wave, Iran's supreme leader Ali Khamenei was killed, along with other key figures. This was not a symbolic opening strike. It was a decapitation strike aimed at the very top of the Iranian system. And when a war starts at that level, it almost never stays limited for long. What happened next was exactly what you would expect from a conflict like this: retaliation, escalation, and widening risk. Iran responded with missiles and drones across the region. In the weeks that followed, the United States and Israel kept striking Iranian military, missile, and naval targets, while Iran kept showing that it was still capable of hitting back. That is why this war now feels like a constant test of how much damage both sides are willing to absorb. If you like serious breakdowns like this, not shallow hysteria and not recycled headlines, but real analysis, hit like and subscribe. That tells me you want more deep videos like this, and it genuinely helps the channel grow. And this is where the war stops feeling like something far away. An Iranian strike on Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia wounded 12 American troops. In the broader conflict, more than 300 U.S. service members have been wounded, and 13 have been killed. When American troops are taking losses like that, this is no longer just some regional crisis on a map. It becomes a real American story, politically, militarily, and emotionally. So where does the war stand now? President Trump said the United States is close to achieving its main goals, but he did not give a clear end date and made it clear that the strikes will continue. The markets reacted immediately. Oil rose above $108 a barrel, stocks fell, and investors reacted like they no longer believe this will end quickly or cleanly. A war like this does not stay confined to the battlefield. The Strait of Hormuz remains nearly closed, and right now Britain is holding talks with dozens of countries about reopening it. And that matters because Hormuz is one of the most critical energy choke points in the world. When war starts squeezing that corridor, the consequences do not just hit tankers and traders. They hit fuel prices, shipping costs, inflation, and the wallets of ordinary Americans at home. Now let's talk about Iran, because this is exactly where most people misunderstand this war. Iran is much weaker than the United States in a conventional head-to-head war. That is true, but weaker does not mean insignificant. By open estimates, Iran has around 610,000 active military personnel, about 350,000 reservists, and roughly 220,000 paramilitary forces. Those same estimates also put Iran at around 551 aircraft, including roughly 188 fighter jets, about 129 helicopters, around 2,675 tanks, and large reserves of artillery and rocket systems. That is not enough to break America, but it is more than enough to make a regional war dangerous, stubborn, and expensive. The same logic applies at sea. Iran is not a blue water naval power, and it is not trying to be. By open estimates, it has around 109 naval assets, including 25 submarines, 7 frigates, and 21 patrol vessels. That is not enough to dominate the ocean, but it does not need to. It only needs to threaten the right places at the right time, especially around straits, shipping routes, and nearby targets connected to the United States. But Iran's real center of gravity is not tanks or ships. It is missiles, drones, mines, underground infrastructure, and asymmetric pressure. CSIS says Iran has the largest and most diverse missile arsenal in the Middle East, including thousands of ballistic and cruise missiles. And even after weeks of war, U.S. intelligence could confidently confirm the destruction of only about 1/3 of Iran's missile arsenal. In other words, even after major strikes, Iran may still have enough survivable firepower left to keep this war painful. Now let's compare that to the United States. As of December 2025, the U.S. Armed Forces had about 2.11 million personnel, including roughly 1.34 million active duty troops and around 770,100 reservists. Open comparative estimates for 2026 put the United States at around 13,032 aircraft, including roughly 1,791 fighter jets, about 5,913 helicopters, 4,666 tanks, and far deeper artillery and missile reserves than Iran. This is not just a big military anymore. This is a military built for global reach, sustained operations, long-range strikes, and pressure across multiple theaters at once. And at sea, the gap becomes enormous. By open estimates, the United States has around 465 naval assets, including 11 aircraft carriers, 9 helicopter carriers, 66 submarines, and 83 destroyers. SIPRI says U.S. military spending reached about $997 billion in 2024, while Iran's was around $7.9 billion. And the Federation of American Scientists estimates that the U.S. military stockpile stood at about 3,700 nuclear warheads at the start of 2025, while Iran has no publicly confirmed nuclear warheads. So if the question is, who is stronger? The answer is obvious. America is overwhelmingly stronger in conventional military power. But that is not the main question. The real question is whether America can win cleanly, quickly, and at a cost the country is actually willing to accept. And that is where this war becomes genuinely dangerous. Because even stronger countries get dragged into ugly wars. Even more advanced militaries end up with heavy, messy consequences. And conflicts that look manageable in speeches can, in reality, turn into years of fallout. America is stronger. Iran is weaker. Both of those things are true. But if this keeps expanding, everyone will pay for it. And that is exactly why strategy matters more than slogans.